What's up guys? Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I'm Bonnie and this is my channel where I talk about all things lifestyle and DIY. So if you're interested in either of those, make sure you hit subscribe and turn on those notifications. But if you're following me on Instagram, even if you're not, go follow me. But if you are following me on Instagram, you'll know that I wanted to make a console table for this area in my home. So when you walk through my front door, you walk straight, you're gonna see this big empty space between the wall and my sectional. And I just felt like it needed something else because it's just kind of like an awkward space. But I didn't want like a chunky console table or anything like that. So what did I do? I hopped on Pinterest, of course, and I was scrolling through to see like what kind of DIY console table is not gonna cost a lot of money, it's gonna be super easy to make, and I kind of wanted just something simple. So I found this console table, and I thought, well, that's perfect. So let me go ahead and try and recreate this. So all I did was I looked at the photo and I was like, yeah, let's do this. So I cut up some pieces of wood and I made it. So I will go into more details with that for you guys in this video. So if you want to see how I made this console table for the cheap, just keep watching. So all I needed for this project was one piece of wood, and I was so lucky to have found this piece of wood on a Curb Alert, so it was free. I picked it up and I think it was a 1x8x12, so it's 12 feet long, which was perfect for this console table. So for all of the pieces, I literally just cut it into 4 equal pieces, except the legs and the shelf holding it together at the bottom is going to be cut at an angle on each end. So for the top of the table, I cut it at 3 feet in length. I then turned my miter saw to 10 degrees. Now I was going to cut the legs and the shelf for this console table. So each of the legs are going to be cut at a 10 degree on both ends, and they're going to be parallel to each other. So when you're cutting them, you're gonna cut them parallel instead of like this at opposite angles. So you're gonna cut 10 degrees parallel at 3 feet in length. So this is what the console table looks like so far, and now I'm going to measure to see where I want the shelf to sit. And by measure, I mean strategically place the board on top of the other boards and mark it off where I need to cut it. And as you can see, strategically did not work very well because one of the boards, or 2 of the boards, fell down. So for this console table, you can definitely resize it to however you need to fit your space. You can definitely use different wood. I did not want to spend any money on this console table. I wanted to use wood that I already had, therefore I used what I had. But you can make it shorter, you can make it taller, you can make it wider, you can make the shelf at a different height. Just make sure you adjust your measurements to what you want it to be. So for the shelf, I measured it, and then I cut the sides at a 10 degree miter as well, but they were not parallel to each other. So unlike the legs going like this for the cut, the shelf sides went like this. So professional. And that's it. That's the only cuts that I had to make for this project, and then I moved on to adding some pocket holes. So I added 2 pocket holes to each of the legs on the top part so that they could attach to the top of the console, and then I did 2 more pocket holes on each side of the shelf so that they could attach to the legs. Now I just took some wood glue and pocket hole screws and I secured all the pieces together. I started off by attaching one leg to the top, then I attached the other leg to the top, and then I attached the shelf to both of the legs. And yes, my children don't listen to me when I give them instructions on not to walk around barefooted inside the garage. So I want to say I measured up about 12.5 inches. I knew I wanted to make some room for baskets down below. That's why my shelf is up so high compared to the inspiration photo. But like I said, you can definitely change the measurements to suit your needs. So the inside of this console table was pretty rough. That's just the condition of the wood that I got off of the curb. So I smoothed it out as best as I could because I didn't want it to catch on anything like blankets or whatever I decided to store in it. Plus Adrienne, she loves to touch things, so I didn't want her to get a splinter or anything. So I smoothed it down and then I worked my way up to a 220 grit so I could finish it for staining. For the stain combination, I am using the same stain combo that I've been using for a lot of my projects, which is a whitewash. And normally it's Provincial, but the stores that I've been going to haven't had Provincial on hand, so it is Early American. But still a pretty combination. I love the kind of like earthy tone, warm wood tone without being too warm, I guess. I don't know how to explain it, but it gives it a really nice effect. I also ran out of rags that I normally use to stain my projects, so I used a combination of a sponge brush and paper towels, which I guess worked. Here it is in all of its cheap DIY beautiness inside of my home. I think it turned out really well for using a scrap piece of wood and not spending a single dime on any of the supplies besides things that I already had on hand, so I guess you could technically say that it wasn't really free, but still cheap. Even though that it's super thin, it is still really sturdy. Like, it doesn't wobble from side to side. I may have to secure it to the wall just to prevent things that I put on it from tipping over, and Adrienne knocking things down off of it, so that's definitely something that I can do. But overall, I really love this piece. I think it really pulls together this corner of my home and makes the whole entire living room feel more like cohesive. So it's definitely a win in my book for a DIY console. I really hope you guys enjoyed this DIY console table video. If you guys did, make sure you guys hit that thumbs up button, and I will see you guys